Hello friends, finally the 11th part of this wonderful manhwa. I am sure that many have been waiting, so I hope for your support. Enjoy your viewing. The leader immediately began to show his superiority over us. For a bunch of tramps that just got together, you performed pretty well. He said confidently, raising his club up, which raised the morale of his people. If you leave now, I will save your lives. The big guy suggested while we were reflected in his reddened pupil. He was clearly ready for a battle to the death. The leader of the Sea tribe was clearly not going to retreat, remembering all the grievances of the past. Don't gurgle. We have an old score to settle. The fishman said confidently, also ready to start a fight at any moment. The typical shouting before the battle began. Where first one side speaks, then the other, the so-called trash talk. We've just warmed up, and you already want to leave? That's right, Yuangshi still has strength left. Even though it's evening, but we are full of energy. Suddenly, Shigu turned to me, covering me with his back. King, don't worry, the situation is under control. I chose to remain silent, focusing entirely on the treatment. Time is running out. I thought, looking at the timer from the system with 6 minutes 21 seconds left. But I do not know how to neutralize the poison. I kept thinking, touching the animal. I turned my attention to the others. Shigu is already barely holding on. If this continues, I will not only fail the mission, but also I can already hear the malicious giggling of the system. I am in the greatest danger in history. I have to protect a little friend. Suddenly, the leader of the enemy tribe raised his leg, and everyone paid attention to it. The next moment, he stamped with all his might and exhaled heavily. Apparently it took away some part of his strength. Nevertheless, his trampling on the ground caused a gap that caused my people to panic and lose their balance. The bully grunted angrily, looking at us. I was already in a fighting stance and snorted contemptuously, holding an axe in my hand. It looks like a showdown cannot be avoided. I thought. Title. Said one-word bully. With that, it was not a question, but a statement of fact, which confused me a little. Name? The name of what? I was surprised, standing proudly in front of the enemy. What is the name of your tribe? I thought you were a bunch of bums, but I guess I was wrong. The enemy already said with a grin. I am the king of the mountain tribe. And you? Finally, the big guy clarified, pointing his weapon in my direction. A tribe of newcomers, King Chen Li. I also said confidently, without showing a drop of fear. It's not my style to attack a couple of people in a crowd, we'll settle with you another day. But today I liked everything. With a face full of satisfaction, the big man said, looking at me. I saw how his eyes were burning. He wanted a fight, but respect for us played a role. He wants a fair fight. Finally they began to recognize us. Take the one that passed out, we're coming back. The leader of the mountain tribe turned in the opposite direction, saying to his people. Meanwhile, the man he was talking about was coughing up blood from his mouth. Stop puking. We're leaving. The leader said as he passed by this man and he barely answered. All right, king. It was obvious that one more word and he would start vomiting again. We continued to stand still, watching the crowd of people of the mountain tribe leave us. Finally, after a while, Shigu started talking to me. Looks like we got away with it. I saw him exhale with relief. I myself understood that if a battle had started, it would not have been without losses. Finally, I turned around and looked at the bear again, saying. There is one more unsolved problem. There were 4 minutes and 12 seconds left on the timer. There was a full moon in the sky, which towered majestically over the mountains and the forest. The mountain tribe was walking towards their home. One of the people decided to ask the king. Are we going to leave like this? It's too easy for them. He was at a loss, in principle, like everyone except the king. But the king did not leave them without an answer. Today I took only a white flower with me to hunt, I did not take ginseng. Besides, the supernatural power given to me by the sorcerer will soon run out. He spoke while looking at his hands, which were glowing with purple flames. Suddenly, he remembered our brief encounter, continuing. This kid is not easy. He was able to hastily block my punch, which I put 70% of my strength into. Looking at his relaxed posture, I'm sure he's hiding a lot of things. And he has an unusual weapon. Where did he come from in the first place? Next time I won't let them go so easily. He explained to his men, looking from his weapon to the moon in the sky. At this time, we were already sitting over the bear in a crowd, trying to help him. The bear was poisoned by the poison of white datura. Does anyone know how to neutralize the poison? I asked my people. Turning around at them, I saw only puzzled faces. What to do? I was thinking and one of my subordinates turned to me. King, why do you need to neutralize the poison? Isn't this our prey that we sacrificed our lives for? He asked. There is no time for explanations. Everything you need to know. That this is a huge problem related to life and death. I already shouted my last words with all my might, which made the one who asked sweat. Suddenly, I showed 2 herbs. It was honeysuckle and burdock, after which he began to explain. These 2 herbs have the effect of neutralizing the poison, but I do not know if it will be able to neutralize the poison of white datura. It remains only to make a desperate attempt. You will help open the bear's mouth, and I will give him medicine. I commanded. After that, the subordinates immediately began to execute the order, and I was shocked. It is not necessary to use so much force. I said, looking at how the bear's tears are flowing. The bear continued to lie on the ground, and the timer continued to tick. 3 minutes. 2.5 minutes. 2 minutes. We stood and looked at the beast, hoping for the best. There is a second left, and as soon as it ends, the system window lights up. The poison in the bear's body is no longer fatal, the danger has been eliminated. After reading the text, I was surprised and exclaimed arbitrarily. Phew it. I'll finally catch my breath. I breathed out with relief. Did we save him? Shiga asked. So far, his life is not in danger. I answered. Suddenly, the leader of the sea tribe started shaking Shiga by the shoulders and shouting. The mountain tribe couldn't have gone far, can we catch up with them and avenge my tribe? I looked at him and tried to answer correctly. We don't know the details yet, if we act rashly, we will incur big losses. And even if we can win, it will be a victory worth such sacrifices, which is tantamount to defeat. If we lose people because of this, then I am categorically against it. Since they will come to us by themselves, we will think over a plan of action and accumulate strength. As soon as I finished explaining, people started whispering. Huangshi, what did the king mean? One asked. Ask less. Huangshi replied. Take the nettles back to the camp. I'll take care of the bear myself. I commanded and heard no objections. There is. Very well, your majesty. Then I turned to Shig. Tell the queen to send reinforcements to the patrols and post sentries. And hurry up, we'll have guests soon. When all my people had already left to carry out my orders, I was left alone with the bear. Having built a fire, I leaned against a bear and closed my eyes. There was still a full moon outside, as well as another moon, also full, but much smaller than the main one. Suddenly, a sound reached my ears. Opening my eyes, in the bushes I saw 5 pairs of multicolored eyes that looked in our direction with the bear. As I knew that you would want to take advantage of the opportunity, I said in a voice, not feeling afraid at all. Tonight's dinner is ready. I said, taking my axe in my hand. Sunrise. The sun slowly emerged from the horizon, gradually illuminating the area. Either a wolf or a hyena came up to my campfire, growling, surprising me with this, because predators are usually afraid of bonfires, or to be more precise, fire. How? How so? I exclaimed, surprised. But the conversation I had with him was short, and I quickly decided to skin him too. This game is also very tasty. I admired the wonderful taste of the meat roasted on the fire, while the remaining parts of the wolf reached over the flame. By this time, the bear began to slowly wake up from sleep and move away from the neutralized poison. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw the clubfoot tossing and turning, and then turned his attention in my direction. I advise you to be honest and not refuse my offer. I said, turning to him, and handed him a piece of freshly cooked game. I didn't know if you were eating cooked food, so I let you live. I said and immediately turned my gaze to the pile lying not far from us. There were the carcasses of a hare and another wolf lying nose to nose. There for you, eat up. I suggested it to Clubfoot. Time has passed and the fire has already moderated its ardor. Around a small fire here and there lay the bones of game that we had already gnawed. They ate too much. I said for the 2 of us, holding onto the overflowing bellies with him. The food was delicious and the amount was decent for 2 stomachs. That's what we need. Suddenly, a red system window appeared with another updated text of information. The target, bear, is no longer in danger. The mission, rescue, has been successfully completed. The points of the characteristic +2 and the sympathy of the bears were obtained. Please divide the points. Then the distribution went on as usual, where I could add new ones. Physical fitness is 1+. Strength 10+. Intelligence is 1+. Dexterity is 5+. According to his plan. I immediately started dreaming about a wide-toned body. First, I will increase my physical fitness to a critical value. From thinking about the distribution of the points received, I was distracted by my bear, who brought the carcass of the wolf cub closer, holding it tightly by the scruff of the neck and his mouth with his teeth. Huh. I was surprised while my companion was releasing the carcass, laying the cub on the ground. Did you leave this for me? Is this the so-called sympathy of bears? I admired his action. But I shared this booty with you. I decided to immediately explain to him that his act was unnecessary. Are you giving me a part of it? If this is a kind of gratitude, then I like it. I exclaimed, smiling with all 32 teeth and imagining a girl in a less closed cosplay costume for a bear. Yeah. Excellent. It flashed through my mind at the moment of enjoying this pretty brunette smiling at me. Since you're fine, it's time for me to get back. I got up and began to shake off the settled dust and dirt on my clothes. I was about to walk away, but I felt as if something or someone was pulling me, although rather holding me. Woo. Woo. The bear made a noise as if he wanted to tell me something, but he could hardly do it, or rather, on the contrary, it did not work because he held my clothes with his teeth, not letting me go away. Do you want me to take you with me? I asked him a question right there, interested in the opinion of my rescued comrade. The bear smiled so radiantly and began to make eyes at me. Looking forward to it. Waiting. It flashed through my mind right there. In principle, it's really obvious from him, this clubfoot does not want to part with me. Transform. I immediately exclaimed, taking a stance as if I was conjuring. Well, what about it? It would be quite nice if he really turned out to be a girl in a cute suit. But the bear, on the contrary, looked at me with a misunderstanding of what I want from him. You can't even turn into a bear. I expressed dissatisfaction, almost grinding my teeth in frustration and grabbing him by the breasts. What's the use of you? Although in order to feed such a large animal, you need a lot of food, but a bear as a riding animal is very cool. I decided to immediately weigh all the cons and pros in my thoughts. It's decided. I summed it up and decided to announce it to my furry friend. I'm taking you, from today on, your name is Xiongda. I exclaimed, which caused the wild delight of Clubfoot. The bear immediately rushed to hug me and lick my face, delighted with this news. Okay, I get it. Laughing, I said in response. Since now I have a strong assistant. I began to think mentally, stroking the bear on the withers. Why not go where they went to scout the road? I decided, looking deep into the forest in front of me. Climbing on the back of a clubfoot was not a problem, so my idea of using a bear as a transport was immediately realized. The road was faster, having found at least some kind of transport. And less expensive, so to speak. And the bear skin is quite soft and comfortable, and the legs do not get tired. Their footprints are getting deeper and deeper. I muttered, not taking my eyes off the string of shallow marks on the path. This means that the ground is getting softer here. The terrain began to change and it bothered me to some extent. If there used to be a forest consisting of trees, now. What's that up ahead? Is there a bamboo forest here? I was surprised by the change of landscape. Now on either side of us towered long hollow stalks of green bamboo. Bamboo can be used not only as a building material. I decided to think out loud. But also to create firecrackers. Suddenly it dawned on me. You need to mix saltpeter, sulfur and charcoal in a ratio of 75 to 15 to 10. And immerse the mixture in a bamboo tube. If we can make firecrackers. Still looking around the area, I thought. Perhaps, in a decisive battle, this will take the enemy by surprise. Even if the power of the explosion is insufficient. Ideas about people fleeing from explosions immediately surfaced in my thoughts. Its sound will remain very loud. We've already found some saltpeter. And I immediately remembered the recent finds of the necessary fossils. With charcoal, too, everything is easy. We use the kiln firing method. And I immediately imagined him in my mind. But things are bad with gray. It can only be found near volcanoes. The bear walked slowly, swaying slightly, without distracting me from my thoughts. A place that will fit. I muttered, and immediately an idea came to me. System, open the card. I immediately ordered her. Volcano. Volcano. I muttered and ran my eyes over the glowing canvas of the system with the landscape indicated on it. Carefully, without missing anything. Well, of course. It hit me right away. The place where the giant sleeps. It must be the nearest volcano. If you don't get too close to him, then you can take a chance and look. I immediately remembered the last trip to the snow-covered mountain. Last time I was worried about how to escape as soon as possible. I muttered, remembering again the fragments of that campaign and how quickly I ran away as soon as my heels sparkled. And did not consider nearby resources. Xiongda. I turned to my furry friend accompanying me. Turn around, we'll take a chance and go north. I will show you something that is many times bigger than you. I chuckled, smiling. Don't shit yourself. The bamboo grove ended and the open area of the field began to stretch again. A snow-covered mountain was visible in front of us. But, my exclamations were heard so that the bear accelerated. Which, in principle, helped quite well, and a plume of dust curled behind us. Wait, Xiongda. I exclaimed, slowing down my furry friend. And he just began to shake off the snow that was flying from the sky on his bearskin. We had a view of a blue lake with the purest water, as well as the transition of a field with green grass into an already snow-covered surface, submerged under drifts of crystal-clear snow. This must be the same lake that Haihu and Xiong were on. I said out loud. I've been down this road before. I wondered. I wasn't in the mood to look at the terrain then, but this time I'll take advantage of this opportunity. Xiongda, slow down. You can take a breath. The bear obediently slowed down, and we began to move smoothly through the area, simultaneously studying it. Be careful, keep your eyes open. I warned the clubfoot and we tried to hide in the grass, even though it's a little complicated with his size. Nothing special. I muttered. It seems that the sea monster can be seen only by chance. We were still standing among the tall grass, not taking our eyes off the lake, on which only occasionally there were small waves, more like ripples. Woo-woo. The bear came from a distance, and he was immediately struck by a small tremor, as if he felt something bad. But surprisingly, the sea monster was still not visible, only animal instinct worked here. Did you notice something? As soon as I asked this question, I noticed a blurring darkness in the lake, and after that, bubbles of different sizes reached the surface one after another. The huge mountain began to emerge from the lake, and large splashes began to fly in different directions. We were a little stunned by what was happening for a while, and we immediately became alert to be ready for everything at once. Greyaya. There was a growl of the creature that appeared immediately. A huge bald head with shiny skin from water, bulging small eyes relative to the size of the head, and 2 rows of sharp white teeth. Damn. We were taken aback immediately by what we saw. The huge creature was now standing in front of us, and water was dripping from its skin in large drops. TT. The Tyrannosaurus? I immediately exclaimed. There really is a huge dinosaur in front of us. A massive body, matching his large hind legs, tail and head. Only the small shortened front paws stand out from the whole picture. He has a piece of rope hanging around his neck in the form of a broken lasso. Apparently they wanted to catch him without us. We were shackled by the horror of what we saw. Rrrrrr. There was a loud growl from the mouth of the Tyrannosaurus. Large drops of water continually descended from his body, and splashes of water spread in different directions due to his movements. We were no more than fleas to him, that's for sure. Xiongda, hurry up, get down. I ordered the bear and only pressed closer to his fur. We remained silent so as not to attract this creature to us and stay alive at least for now. A collar? I spoke out loud, drawing attention to the broken rope in the form of a lasso. Could it be that this animal is the giant's pet, escaped from while he was sleeping? I thought, still watching the creature, which looked around and seemed to be waiting for a trick. It is possible that the monster that scared off the saber-toothed tiger was just this Tyrannosaurus, and the huge footprints seen earlier were also left by him. I muttered and thought, remembering the huge depressions in the ground when I first arrived here. If this is the case, then the giant on the mountain has already fallen asleep at least more than 15 days ago. I thought about it right there. Let's go around him quietly from the side. I began to whisper my proposal in the bear's ear. In no case should he be disturbed. While the Tyrannosaurus Rex was still looking around to no avail in anticipation of the danger he felt, we quietly, trying to get lost among the grass, walked away and found the right way option. After making a loop, we came to the end of the grass in the clearing from the other side. And then we switched to snow covers and continued our way towards the mountain covered with a snow blanket, our original goal. It was getting colder and now and then steam was coming out of my mouth. I began to look around, what is around us for meters, and how best to follow further. We won't go any further. I decided. The snow is getting thicker, and if something happens, I stopped looking around once more. We can't escape. I summed it up by finally analyzing the terrain. I tried to get off the back of the clubfoot without consequences, jumping off it into a snowdrift. And we began to walk separately. The bear in front of me was crushing the snow into a denser surface, and I tried to keep up and walk along the beaten path, although sometimes I was drowning up to my waist in this miracle of nature. "Don't worry, I'll walk behind you and in no case will I leave you here alone," I assured my club-footed friend. "Just be careful and watch your surroundings." Soon, walking after the bear, I noticed something in the snow and decided to take a look. The snow in this place was a yellow shade. I took the piece in my hand and chuckled, wondering what it could be. "It seems to smell of something." I immediately thought about it, feeling another distinctive feature of my find, namely a specific smell. "Under a layer of snow," I muttered. "What is that smell?" It didn't feel very bright, but it felt like something familiar. "The smell is getting stronger, you can't make a mistake," I said, and, catching up with the bear, this smell only hit me harder in the nose, which only made me hurry after him faster. I began to dig through the snowdrifts in search of the find I needed. And here it is. "Found," I exclaimed immediately, having found what I was looking for. "Xiongda," I called the bear to me when I got to the yellowed ground. "We found sulfur," I exclaimed louder and rejoiced like a child, throwing handfuls of snow into the air. "Excellent," I said, still not happy with my discovery. "There can be no mistake," I said, picking up handfuls of the sulfur I found and not moderating my ardor. With such reserves of sulfur, the production of firecrackers is not far off. A sunny day. The bright circle of the celestial body illuminated and warmed the earth. Soon we returned to our settlement. The settlers immediately came out of their huts and began to surround us slowly. "King. The king is back," Hunter Xiong exclaimed and pointed in our direction. "Virginia. What a huge bear. King. Why?" There were exclamations of admiration from one or another member of the tribe. "Actually, this big guy's name is Xiongda," I introduced my escort to the inhabitants. "And from now on he is our friend." "It's so cool," Xiong exclaimed admiringly. "I want to be as majestic as a king when I grow up." The boy was dreaming right there. "Not a question," I answered, getting off the bear's broad back. "In the future, I will definitely find you a cool riding animal." "Hooray!" Xiong exclaimed joyfully. "Hooray, hooray, hooray. I can't teach him to ride for free." A thought flashed through my mind as I watched his joy. "Ew, dry these bamboos, they will still be useful to us," I said, handing the blonde with horns the medium-long bamboo stalks I had collected in that bamboo grove. "This bear is so strong." The girl with long hair of a light green shade was amazed, looking almost closely at the muzzle of the clubfoot. "Can I ride it?" "Sure," I immediately agreed. "My queen." "Bad. Bad." Suddenly there were screams from somewhere, and we immediately turned in the direction of the sound. "King." One of the subjects appeared on the horizon with skin and gills of a blue shade and a light blue stripe. "Tell me calmly, what happened?" I immediately asked the out-of-breath news bulletin. The man breathed deeply for a while and then, having leveled his breathing, decided to tell what he saw. A huge monster appeared in the sea near the shore. He began to tell me. "It is very violent, so much so that the waves it raises destroyed all the salt on the beach. The monster is very strong, we cannot cope with it." The man panicked. Having imagined this creature about which there was a story, I immediately tensed up. "Don't worry," I assured him immediately. "I will personally go to the beach to assess the situation." The day was sunny without a gram of clouds on the horizon, only a light breeze stirred the leaves of the trees. I drove the bear and we tried to get to the place of events on time. As soon as we reached the beach, an unflattering picture opened up to us. On the snow-white sand, here and there lay fragments of trees and the exhausted bodies of my tribesmen, who fought back against a monster. I was immediately struck by the picture that opened before my eyes. Uaiaya. Aiaiaya. There were screams of other people of the tribe, who tried their best to deal with the monster, but they did it badly, or rather practically in no way. "Such a huge thing?" Gritting my teeth, I said, amazed at the size of our intruder. "I'll check out what kind of monster it is." An emerald screen with information and a photo of this sea beast immediately popped up in front of my eyes. Ichthyosaurus. A large predatory marine reptile, similar to a fish, aggressive, lays eggs. This individual is at the stage of development, the length of its body is about 7 meters. Adults can reach more than 10 meters. The information canvas of the system read. "An ichthyosaur?" I was surprised by the information I saw and photos of a huge fish with 2 pairs of fins, a long beak-shaped nose and gray coloring in light brown stripes. "We cannot leave him unpunished, otherwise there will be consequences," I said, trying to hold on to the fur of the clubfoot as the wind currents from the sea tried to throw me off. "If we can get him ashore, we'll win." "Xiongda," I called out to the bear. "Do you understand me?" I asked him, to which I received a voluntary growl in response. "I'll kill you," I shouted loudly and, riding a bear, rushed towards my opponent. Ayaya. With a run, pushing off from the surface of the earth, we soared in a jump on the sea monster. "Die already," I shouted menacingly and swung my axe. The shrewd fish swung its tail in time, thereby knocking the clubfoot out from under me. But I am not a timid person, and heading in accordance with a precisely adjusted course, I plunged the axe blade into the back of the sea monster. "Yes, yes, yes," I exclaimed, rejoicing early in what had happened. But before I could react, the sea monster immediately twisted and rushed at me with its mouth open, showing its sharp teeth. Quickly orienting myself, I stood across her toothy mouth, thereby preventing me from eating, as well as closing her mouth. The fish immediately went under the water, only the tail flashed over the raging surface of the water. But I didn't calculate that. There's nothing to breathe under the water. I immediately tried to hold my breath and not waste crumbs of air for nothing. Damn, I thought. It wants to drag me into the depths of the sea. And the sea monster sank lower and lower under the water. The monster was rushing to the bottom faster and faster. You know, and in the photo it looked more harmless than now this wound-up killing machine. There were bumps along her spine one after another, along the length of her body she seemed to be ribbed, and her eyes burned with bloodlust. But only the lack of air and a lot of small sharp, like needles, teeth did not give me rest. Damn, I cursed mentally, if this goes on, I'd rather drown than be eaten. Suddenly the fish jerked and abruptly stopped swimming. Something alerted or frightened her, moderating her ardor and exuberant mood. Woo! A clubfoot roared on the shore, holding the sea monster by the tail and not letting him move on. Rrrrrrrr. The bear seemed to be possessed by an unknown force and, straining all the muscles of his body, he seized the monster. Rrrrrrrr. The clubfoot growled again and rushed to the body of the fish, sharpening its claws. "Xiongda is still following our plan," flashed through my mind, while the fish was trying to figure out what was going on. Which means I can't give up either. But, damn it, I was still mentally cursing, looking at the rows of sharp teeth pointed in my direction. I can't take it anymore. I was still trying to hold on with the last of my strength as a shadow appeared behind me. Another moment and then someone swam next to me and the monster, only snow-white hair and bluish skin color, I managed to notice out of the corner of my eye. It was a girl with 2 blades at the ready. A moment and she immediately twitched like lightning. The girl ripped open the monster's mouth, releasing streams of pitch-black blood. The grip of the mouth weakened and I was carried away from the fish. Alas, the fish kept me for a considerable amount of time. I had neither the strength nor the air to get to the surface of the sea myself. Appeared. I thought, seeing how this girl began to swim in my direction. New. Once again, a thought slipped fragmentally through my head. An enemy? She was almost right next to me when suddenly my eyelids closed and my body softened. Cough. 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 I coughed, opening my eyes and seeing familiar faces. Well, the muzzle. The bear looked at me without looking away. The king came to his senses. One of the subjects exclaimed joyfully. "His Majesty is awake." Another exclaimed. "Alan. Come here." They exclaimed, addressing the girl who was sitting on a rock near the shore. "King Chen wants to see you." The girl turned her attention in our direction. As I managed to see under the water, her hair was almost snow-white, but closer to a grayish shade and gathered in a tail with strands escaping from it at the face, her skin with a shade of blue, where people have ears, the girl's gills are visible, eyes the color of the sun are so pure and look as if into the very soul. Of the clothes, only a pair of bandages, one covered the chest, the other swayed on the hips. The girl came down from her perch and approached us. But before she got a couple of steps to me, she immediately sat down in the lotus position and began to look carefully. Hey, GY. One of the men exclaimed. This girl's name is Alan. One of the men present continued to introduce my savior to me. She is the best swimmer in the sea tribe. The little girl killed that monster and pulled you ashore. The man informed me. Although we, the people of the sea tribe, of course, are not famous for intelligence, but Alan, in comparison with other tribesmen, is quite stupid, therefore. The men continued to tell me about this person. The girl, on the contrary, did not care. She sat as if nothing had happened and picked her nose. From a different angle of sunlight, I saw a growth on the girl's forehead. "Don't worry, she's my savior," I said calmly in response to their information. I can't be angry with her for a little oversight. "Where did you get this obsidian dagger?" I immediately asked Alani and showed her a dagger of a black shade, slightly glistening in the sun. "This one?" followed me in response. "The brother took it away from the bad guy." The girl continued her answer. "The bad guy?" I was surprised. "Have you left the mountain tribe territory? Who is this nasty guy, after all?" Suddenly my savior asked, pointing at me with her finger at the men standing next to us. "Can I have a fight with him?" she asked again without shame. To which, in response, a man with a blue skin tone waved his hands, hinting that it was better not to. He approached her head and whispered something in her ear. I didn't quite get it. Alan exclaimed again, smiling broadly. "But you came to help us, didn't you?" "Almost," I muttered back. On that day, a crowd of bad guys penetrated our lands. Blushing a little with excitement, the girl began to tell. "Very soon I lost consciousness. When I woke up, Brother Fang and other members of the tribe were locked in a cave with me." She remembered sitting handcuffed with her tribesmen in a dark cave behind a fence in the form of pointed elongated stones, or rather it was the large fangs of some animal. Behind the fence outside the cave, people with batons and in animal skins walked and guarded. "Yesterday, when we were working," Alan continued to tell, remembering how people forced them to drag animal carcasses from one place to another. "My brother quietly told me, 'Soon I will deal with one bad guy, and I will give his weapon to you. Use it to cut the rope, and then jump off the cliff.'" The girl repeated the words of a relative that he said during their break from work. "Straight into the river. Only you can get out of there alive." He said the same thing. "But..." Alan wanted to resist his brother. "Hush, listen to me," he interrupted her. A small plot of land where, under the strict supervision of 4 guards with batons, they carried carcasses of dead game. "After you escape, find Haishi, he's a lucky guy, he should still be alive." My brother continued to instruct me. "When you meet, do whatever he says. Understand?" he asked, looking at his sister. "Yeah." That was all Alan answered. "You too." Suddenly there was a shout from one of the guards behind them. "What the hell are you doing there?" He shouted a question loudly, thrusting his sword forward. "It's time," her brother said, not at a loss. He threw the carcass he had been carrying at the warden all this time, thereby knocking the man down. "Take the dagger," the brother exclaimed in the direction of his sister. "And run." Therefore, returning, the girl told me in the present time, "I ran into a huge monster that was going to devour you." "That's it?" I muttered, comprehending the story I had heard. "In that case, you can come back to the camp with me, but before that I'll take you to Haishi." I got to my feet and, shaking myself off, straightened up. "Oh, yes, I almost forgot." Suddenly I remembered something. "We need to take an axe and this monster with us." I said the thought that had just occurred to me. Bright sun on the background of a rich blue sky. Every now and then seagulls fly and dilute the sounds of water beating on the shore. And I, Alan and the men from the sea tribe are walking a little ahead of my clubfoot, to which our huge catch is tied with a rope. "Hey, Haishi. Shigu?" I was surprised to see my fellow tribesmen, who, as it turned out, were going to meet us. "Hey. This is the king," they exclaimed in response to me. "The king?" Shigu exclaimed. "Alan?" Haishi exclaimed. They were as surprised as we were, but they smiled contentedly at this turn of events. "Why are you together?" There was a question first of all that interested them. But I just put my hands on my hips and, smiling stupidly, answered. "It's a long story." As a result, I, Alan, our escorts, Shigu and Haishi, who came to meet us, and a clubfoot with our huge prey tied to him, were standing on the sea beach. So, it turns out that about 10 people from the tribe, including Fang, are still alive? I tried to digest the information Haisha had heard. "We must release everyone immediately." A second later, he immediately panicked. "Saving people, of course, is important," I agreed. "But am I not the one who needs to be saved?" I immediately retorted. Suddenly we noticed a column of smoke coming from the mountains. Lighthouse on the western mountain. What happened there? A sunny day, which was more or less going well. But there is one but. A column of smoke was coming from the side of the mountain. I told them that simple animals can't light a lighthouse. I said indignantly, "What's going on?" When the king of the mountain tribe was leaving. I muttered while in thought. But then I remembered how, before leaving, he said cheating is not my style, I'll deal with you another time. He was really talking about revenge. Suddenly it dawned on me. Has a mountain tribe descended on us? I was puzzled and all tensed up from the situation and my assumptions. This is not the time to panic, I have to personally check. Take them to the coastal fortress while we gather and strengthen the defense so that they cannot attack us. I gave instructions immediately, turning to Shigu. You can rely on me. His answer followed in the same second, and he immediately set off on his way. And with Alan, immediately go to the western mountain to take up a position in an ambush. There the patrol team will help you. I said, already turning towards Haisha and my savior. Let's not be amateur. Wait for me near the trap zone. I shouted one last time and accelerated towards the incident. That's right, this time I will not be led by emotions. There was a response from Haishi, who was looking after me. I hurried as fast as I could, trying to speed up every second. God. Thoughts slipped in my head, at the same time thinking about the worst. Just don't let anything happen. Time passed, and the smoke still rose from behind the mountain to the bright clear sky. It took me a long time, but I jumped as fast as I could to my settlement, where the people of my tribe were already crowded together. Xiao Wang. I called the queen and the girl immediately responded to my call. King. She immediately raised her voice. Are you back? The girl immediately asked, smiling contentedly and a little embarrassed. That monster on the shore. She wanted to say it, but she didn't have time. It has already become a delicacy, I answered her immediately. Xiong Da is already dragging him. You rest, and I'll take people and go to the west to check the situation. A girl with loose green hair said. No, I stopped her right there, if Haishi goes crazy, then you won't be able to subdue him. I looked at the inhabitants of my tribe and immediately called the fighters who would go with me to the scene of the incident. Huangshi, Langguchui, Xiao Xiong, Ayan. You're all coming with me. The rest and Xiong Da are on you. I turned to the queen and slapped her lightly on the shoulder. Xiao Xiong has found a hill from where you can observe the situation, so we will be in touch. I want to go too. Shanlan Da exclaimed, clenching her fists with impatience and a bit of indignation. You have never taken me with you, but this time I will follow you anyway. The girl assured of her intentions. Okay. I chuckled and smiled. Even so, you will unconditionally follow my commands. Yes. Shanlan exclaimed, rejoicing like a little child. Lutang, you will stay to protect the queen. I continued to give orders. There is? Only briefly followed in response. It was getting late. From the setting sun, the sky and the terrain acquired a yellowish hue, as if the sun had covered them with its veil. The situation was heating up second by second. We set up an ambush and waited for the right moment. Where I and Yuangshi settled down in the bushes, Xiao Xiong took a branch of one of the trees, and Ayan took a branch of another tree. We waited for their arrival, keeping our weapons ready. Your Majesty, they have come. Yuangshi informed me immediately. To which he received my meek yes in response. It really was the king of the mountain tribe with his tribesmen. A man with tattoos and bandaged hands, two swordsmen behind who held torches to light the way for the king, a short boy and a big man to match the king. The king of the mountain tribe was surprised and immediately stopped. Stop it. He immediately gave a sign to his own, raising his hand in the air. I know you're here. The king of the mountain tribe spoke, looking deep into the forest. Come on, come out, we'll find out everything in a duel. Did he notice the trap in front of him? I immediately thought about it. After all, it would be strange to just stop and turn to an invisible enemy. You can't fool me. The king of the mountain tribe spoke again. It's too quiet here. He continued his monologue. Birds don't sing, insects don't chirp, and toads don't croak. He put his hand to his ear, pretending to listen to these voices of the inhabitants of the forest. If they don't show up, then I'll have to use Chushenkao's force. To be honest, I don't like this approach. The king of the mountain tribe grinned. But there was only silence in response, and not a single leaf moved. It seems that the only thing left for us is to face the enemy face to face. I thought. We did not sit and hide for a long time after the words of the king of the mountain tribe and decided to come out from behind the bushes. In an instant, I, Huangshi, and Langguchui immediately appeared in front of them. Behind the back of the king of the mountain tribe, there was a lake from which Haishi and Alan emerged. We surrounded them on both sides. And they slowly moved closer and closer, narrowing the space between us. But this did not frighten the king of the mountain tribe at all. Great, we have the same number of people, we can safely fight. He spoke in response to the situation that had just developed. He grunted and immediately thrust forward the sharpened blade of his sword. "I challenge you to a duel." He spoke in my direction. I watched Heishi out of the corner of my eye. He was breathing shallowly and very often, as if he was about to reach a boiling point and succumb to emotions, even though he promised me the opposite. "Bastard." He shouted and clenched his teeth in outrage at this situation and the reaction of the king of the mountain tribe. "Defeat me first." Heishi shouted again and immediately jerked from his seat, rushing in the direction of the king of the mountain tribe. But it wasn't there. Out of nowhere, the back of the king of the mountain tribe was immediately covered by his henchmen. Like lightning, he appeared in front of Heishi, smiling contentedly with all his 32 teeth. They went at each other. And immediately clasping their hands, they began to lean on each other, resting on the loose soil. Aya. There was a scream and gnashing of teeth from the collision of Heishi and a bald man with tattoos on his body. It seems that someone is impatient. The king of the mountain tribe grunted when he saw this picture. "Mutsi, go play with him." He immediately gave instructions to his subordinate. And he just smiled contentedly. "Hey, hey." Mutsi exclaimed and, twisting around, pulled Heishi's leg so that he lost his balance and fell. Heishi did not count on such a turn and with all his strength flew backwards onto a stone standing by the lake. "Heishi." I exclaimed immediately, watching this fight. I was puzzled and couldn't even move. Did Heishi lose with his strength? A thought immediately flashed through my mind. And I gritted my teeth. Ayan is not a timid person and, without wasting time, immediately cut the rope stretched next to her. The mechanism immediately began to move, and a large round piece of a tree trunk tied on ropes flew towards the Bugai, who was standing in the company of the king of the mountain tribe. A kind of battering ram method. The tree immediately hit the big guy, and he didn't even move an ear, let alone react. It was as if he didn't care or he was just slow in reaction. But alas. Only a couple of wounds remained on the big man after the blow. He stood with an impenetrable expression on his face and just simply pushed the suspended part of the tree as if nothing had happened. Damn. I snorted mentally in response to this. This is the second jam and not in our favor, which is very wrong. And again the unknown. It looked like we were destined for a battle. Thoughts flashed through my head and I swallowed nervously.